coming right there.
All right, hey guys, welcome back to Fit to Fight. All right, I'm Carl, Z, Emery, Ryan, and the hostess of the show, Amber. All right, so we are in episode, we're in our third season, episode 4. So we've been doing
got
this
a
for a little
Friends
while
series
now.
on here.
And yeah, a little mini series, but because we're getting such great reviews on the History Channel here, we're on our third season already. All right, so we're gonna move on to some of our newer questions that have come in from the studio audience. All right, no, we're not allowed to say that on the open air. I'll move on to the next one. Okay, people talk about being able to transition from empty hands to gun and back to empty hands. I've seen drills for the former, but not the latter. I'm assuming he wants us to demonstrate drills going from empty hands to gun and then back to empty hands.
Specifically gun and back to
We're
empty.
saying just holstering the gun, basically, when you decide that you don't need it anymore, or in the
Well,
middle
yeah,
of a fight.
wouldn't the point be if I have to escalate the force, I'll make room for my draw. Why would I, after having a gun, need to still keep fighting and put the gun away? Unless I'm a police officer and I'm making an
police
arrest.
officer.
Yeah.
Right?
Unless you don't know, the situation's still unfolding, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on? And then I see, all right, I don't need a gun for this, or it's time to transition to something else. That's why we talk about in our classes, like, they're really the only people that need to holster without looking, and so they need to develop a skill of doing that safely. Most people, they're trying to do that,
Law
and
enforcement,
you don't need to holster quickly.
You guys understand what we're saying? We say that we look at the holster when we go to holster up. And the reason for that is, and you watch all the pew-pew guys, their feet are always in the exact same spot, but so is their holster in the exact same spot. So they draw fast, they put it away, and they're awesome, they're fast. That's not real life. I have seen 5 operators shoot themselves, 3 were reholstering. Not 5 civilians, not 5 guys in the military, 5 operators. 3 of them were reholstering, right? If you're wrestling with a guy, you've got to put flex cuffs on him, you've got the gun out, whatever. Once you've got control, you've got to reholster. If you're laying on your back, if you're laying on top of him, if you're laying under a car, if you're laying on the skids of a helicopter, it doesn't matter, you still have to get it in the holster. On the flat range, it's easy to find the holster. It's where you left it. But that's not real life. Imagine trying to reholster appendix carry without looking at that holster. That's why you need to be practicing. So as far as empty hands to a gun, escalation of force, but then going back, obviously part of your follow through, did I hit, did I get the desired effect, is there anybody else that needs love? And that's not just look left, right, rear, like people do on the flat range. It's, are there any more threats? And understand the why, because that law enforcement officer doesn't just need to look, well, he's in the 7-Eleven, look left, right, rear after he just dropped this perpetrator that drew down on him. He needs to look behind that Dorito aisle and make sure his buddy, his partner in crime, wasn't sitting there. He needs to make sure the area is safe before he reholsters, and that's why it's so important to know the why. Right? But once you've eliminated, there are no other threats that warrant deadly force. That doesn't mean you still don't have a crowd of people around you that are now extremely pissed because you just ventilated the back of their buddy's head like a canoe. So you reholster whether you've shot or whether you haven't. You may still have to go hands-on, but understand once you've pulled the firearm out from concealed, this act is now a firearm-related incident. Even if you did not shoot, this is a firearm-related incident. So even you putting it away, anybody that comes up and decides to go hands-on with you, they know you have a firearm. For you to get that mental image, if we were to do combatives here, rolling around on the ground, the Army Combatives Program, and then I was to take a taser and say, all right, I'm going to give it to Z. Z's going to have it in his pocket. You're not going to know what pocket. Now when you two go to ground, you're immediately
Changes the
going
dynamic.
for Z's pockets because you've got tunnel
Are you watching
vision
those hands?
on that taser. It's not even a real knife. It's not. as much as you got tunnel vision, worried about a couple volts of electricity, can you imagine what the bad guys are going to be doing, or the other unknowns, when they know that you have got
Life
a
or death.
firearm underneath your shirt? So
You're turning it into a very hard
it is.
fight.
Yeah, it's to be careful putting it away. Be careful putting it away.
So, in
It sounds to
general,
me like you're
go
saying
ahead.
it's more like decision making.
It is 100% decision making.
For
It's not so
sure.
much technique; it's presence of mind.
Yeah.
If we're talking
Read the
context
situation.
aside, if there's any reason that I had my gun out and I had to put it away, and I'm not a cop, maybe I'm not trained real well at keeping my eyes up and holstering, or it's not safe to do so because I don't have an outside the waistband holster, right there, a principle in general is manage the space. If I feel like I'm going to go hands-on, or I don't think this is a time when I need to have my gun out, and this may still be a threat, it's unknown at this point, but I know that I don't need my gun, or I think I don't need my gun now, I make sure that when I'm doing this, I've got time to react as I do that, because I can't pay attention to everything, and I don't want someone to get the drop on me. So I would say manage the space when you're doing it, know what's around you when you're doing it, do it safely. The context, there's just too much stuff to go into for that shit.
Don't want to discount like other ways of securing the weapon without holstering it, especially if maybe this isn't my gun and I took it from a bad guy and now I don't need it. I don't need to use it. Maybe I need my hands for something else like trauma care or calling 911 and protecting somebody else. I might need to use another mean of securing it, whether that's getting it into a safe location that locks if I'm familiar with that my surroundings, or being able to step on it, or tucking it behind my knee while I'm doing something and I still have access to it. I still know where it is. It's still in my possession, but I don't have the means to holster it, whether it's because I don't have the ability to look and take that kind of time, make the space I need, understand the totality of the situation, or I just don't even have anywhere to necessarily put it on me.
That's a very good point. And if you have the wherewithal to draw that gun and still think that you need to be offensive, but you just don't want to be lethal in that moment, we mentioned it in an earlier video, use it for some other way. Like, I don't have to use it to shoot bullets out of necessarily. I use it as a blunt striking object, right? Hit them with it. That saves my fist from being broken, potentially, or anything broken on my hand. So use it that way. Maybe you don't have to use it to shoot.
Anything else?
I don't even remember.
Don't throw it at them because they might catch it and use it.
No, guns are an excellent cutting tool, by the way. They're a very good cutting tool.
Oh, empty hands to guns, drills back to empty hands. So it's
It's a decision making process.
Yeah.
It's not so much a technical.
that's why you haven't seen a
process.
lot of drills on it.
Practice holstering slow if you're talking about just holstering. Like, you don't need to holster fast. It's not a race.
Reholster
Like, look at that. Oh.
reluctantly. That's the way I want you to think about it. Reholster reluctantly. Every time you reholster, draw fast. That's fine. Draw fast. Reholster reluctantly. Exaggerate having the finger outside the trigger well. And when you reholster, have the mental image that you've got a bunch of 12-year-olds behind you watching you. Set a good example for them. And if you think about it that
Deliberately.
way, clear, make sure there's no cloth that could possibly get in the trigger well. Carefully index the barrel into the top of the in the top of the holster. Index it in.
Keep your
and,
gristle out of the trigger guard.
Understand, if you shoot yourself, while you may only lose a couple units of blood, you lose all of your cool points. You're never getting them back. You're never getting them back. Don't shoot yourself.
This goes back to being able to control yourself under pressure and doing drills where you raise your heart rate up and you have to go all out and go hard, and then be able to dial it back to internally control those variables inside of you, and be able to do this relatively. I mean, this is simple. Being able to clear your garment and stick the gun where it goes is a very simple task. But under stress, under pressure, when your heart rate is up, you have to be able to slow things down, bring it back, focus back where you need to, and complete that. So I guess if you're gonna drill it, get your heart rate up, whether that's hitting or fitness or running. Fire, if you're somewhere where you can do live fire safely under those conditions, or whether it's a UTM or CERT, whatever it is, and then get yourself to calm back down and do a proper reholster.
Make some decisions under that
Yeah.
physiological stress there.
Yeah.
If it has an external safety, use the safety on it. The Glocks, for example, don't have an external safety. If you can't just Mexican carry it, stick it into your waistband, it doesn't have an external
Is that
safety.
allowed?
Clear it. Put the loaded magazine back into it, and then put it in your waistband. Be smart about it. All right. All right. You guys ready to move on to the next one?
Yes, sir.
All right. The next one, Z, this is from one of your fans. How can we be a ninja with minimum time put in? Tell them where they buy this pill that just makes them a ninja.
Oh, you buy the T-shirt.
To my earlier joke, 3 installments of $99.99, no returns.
You get a certificate and everything.
No, there's no easy way. There's no easy way. I think if I'm looking for the easiest route, get fundamentals, the lowest level of whatever you consider fighting to be. Learn about the awareness part. Just don't be ignorant to what's going on out in the world, right, and what people can and will do to you. And just start with fundamentals. Don't worry about the end state necessarily. Just worry about, like for instance, if you come to a class in jiu-jitsu for your first time and it's your initial exposure to it, we talk a lot about principle and the why behind it, right? And then I'll get in, if I'm going to get you into moving, it's going to be talking about mechanics and what makes you stronger in that moment to help your body get up where you can be more efficient. So start there, and it's going to take a long time.
3 installments.
It's going to take a long time.
$99.99.
3 installments, $99.99.
And I think be honest with yourself too. Know what your assets and liabilities are. You know, because nobody wants to do the uncomfortable. You know, but especially I think guys, and I know we talked about cops earlier. That's it, man. Like cops don't want to come into, and guys in general. I would say we own 2 training centers, and I would say 80+% of guys that walk through our door think they already know how to fight, and almost no women walk through our doors think they know how to fight. And guess who becomes better fighters and who learns way faster? The women, 1,000%. And the dudes have to get beaten over and over and over again until they either quit or they're like, oh, maybe I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Got to get through the hard head
Yeah.
first.
You know, I've lived on ranches, raised cattle, raised all kinds of animals, and I've watched a lot of animals interacting, watched a lot of animal behavior. And probably the most poignant lesson I've taken from studying animals is any animal with balls, by definition, is dumb.
Stupid.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up that question. We're going to take you to a commercial break. Hey, welcome back. All right, question 22. What is a good hand-to-hand or on-the-spot improvised weapon strategy when faced with multiple opponents, such as Antifa? He's actually singling out a Marxist organization based in Sweden. Okay. Who are outfitted with their makeshift body armor. The armor may
Soccer
seem
shin pads.
hokey. She spelled hokey correctly, by the way. But it can probably deflect or blunt many open hand strikes. The first choice, of course, is not to get in that situation to begin with. But sometimes Mr. Murphy doesn't give you an option. All right, so the question is, the libtards show up at the protest turned violent with their hockey body armor on, wearing their airsoft helmets and their bicycle helmets. They've all got their masks on, and they're armed with their plywood shields with their little plexiglass windows. What's some of the other stuff I've seen on the news? Oh, don't forget the green lasers they like to shine in the law enforcement officers' eyes. Spray cans filled with urine and bleach. That's one of their more recent tools. But specifically about the body armor, what are some attacks, guys? What are some improvised weapons, what they're asking? Best unarmed or hand-to-hand or on-the-spot improvised weapon strategy when faced with multiple monkeys wearing
See
body
the
armor.
prior question. How do you become a ninja very quickly?
Yeah.
Because
You've got to have basic skills. Number one, break contact.
Yeah, get out of there.
Why are
you there?
Why are
Yeah.
you there? Literally, why are you there?
I'm going to show them who's boss.
If you're driving through and they stop your vehicle, all right, the pockets of almost all vehicles now, modern vehicles have what they call umbrella pockets. It's for you to keep your wet umbrella, your little collapsible umbrella. That is the perfect size for the small bear can spray. Serious as a heart attack. I know this because my Suburban has 2 cans of bear spray in the doors. Chad is nodding his head behind the camera. Chad, I should go have you get one. Guys, I don't have to be in the vehicle with you. My daughter is quite capable of popping the safety and spraying out the windows, right? You don't even need to do that. Put it into reverse, use the horn, back up a little bit, and if they try to get behind your vehicle and in front of your vehicle, move it down 2 clicks to where the D is, and push hard on the skinny pedal, okay?
It's on the right side.
My point is fight with your vehicle, right? But first, fight with your head. You should not be there, right? If they're not just going around grabbing people, they're not. So if you chose to stay there and confront them, and you can't say that, well, I'm there helping law enforcement. No, you notice they don't come with improvised weapons. Law enforcement are there with batons, with billy clubs, with riot shields of their own.
You're just another thing they have to worry about.
Yeah, you're just one more.
You're in the way.
You're part of the problem.
A liability.
That's it. You're part of the problem. So get out of there. Honest, I don't even want to spend time on that question, even though we're at the 20-minute mark. Anything else to add on, Emery?
Definitely
Well,
not.
how would goats do it?
How would goats do it?
Yeah.
They'd probably ram them with their head. I think we can move on.
Anybody else? Ron?
Look for a chink in the armor. Where do they not have armor? Cool.
If you're doing something that multiple groups of people are attacking you and this is something that is happening to you, what life choices have you made that have put you in this spot?
Ask yourself what you
You're
have to
obviously
prove.
a racist and white privilege. Well, I mean, look at her. She's obviously white privilege, racist. You just got
Okay,
got
Becky.
called a racist on YouTube.
You know, it's okay to smack them. It's okay to smack them.
My point though is
No, that's what I want you to do.
She got a little bit uncomfortable just by me saying that because it's not true. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if somebody wants to pick a fight with you. That's it. It's words. All right, break contact. People start talking shit about your wife's ass. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't give you the right to ball up with this guy, especially if you're carrying a firearm. It does not give you the right to break contact, walk away.
We're back to decision making.
Exactly, back to decision.
Make better decisions.
Make better decisions.
If you can't control yourself emotionally when somebody says bad things to you verbally, then you're probably not going to be composed in a fight anyway. Don't be in that fight.
We do a training, we call it aggression therapy, where one side gets in the other side's face, and I'm 3-4 inches from you, and I'm saying everything that I possibly can to try to get you to react and respond. And we encourage racial epithet, whatever you're likely to encounter, that's what I'm going to give to you. If it's going to be sexual innuendo, that's what I'm going to give to you. If it's going to be anti-Semitic, that's what I'm going to give to you, because those are the things that you're most likely to be triggered by.
Yeah.
And being able to, it's like we said in prior videos, the first time I get punched in the face shouldn't be in the parking lot. Well, the first time that I have somebody in my face saying things to me to try to get me to go to, because that's their goal, right? If they're there and they want to go ahead and attack me, then they would just attack me. No, they want to get me to respond. And so now they have a justification for them all piling on. Don't give them that. Get out. Don't react. Don't respond.
You know, I think and we've only met you guys recently, but I know that the three of us for sure, you know, a lot of our training, we're training you shooting tactics, you know, combatives, all that stuff. But what you'll notice is in all of our training, we're not lawyers. We're not trying to give you any sort of legal advice. We're giving you ethical advice, right? We're trying to make you, along with these skills we're giving you, we're trying to make you make good decisions. And I mean, we've been saying this over and over throughout all of these videos. Our job is to, you know, how we view it at least, is to try to make our students understand the situation they're in and make the right ethical or moral decision, which typically is going to help you make the legal decision as well, right? Again, we're not lawyers, but we're trying to kind of create better people through some use of violence.
Anything else?
I mean, your ethical and moral decisions are on you, and we, you know, we can't make those decisions for you. We can just kind of help guide you. But being able to take the ego out of it and help you realize that just because something wasn't right doesn't mean you have to respond to it. Right.
I read something in training one time, and I use it all the time. It's like I over E equals C. So intelligence over emotion equals control. So that's what we try to defer to.
All right, the next question is almost verbatim, but it talks about if a guy is carrying a concealed firearm. And I want to toss this around the whole thing. First, my take on it is I don't want anybody to carry firearms. I don't. When everybody's like, oh my God, Carl, but you carry one. Yeah, I do. I made the conscious decision to carry a firearm, but that also means if you're going to do that, if you're going to make the conscious decision to carry a concealed firearm, you need to make the conscious decision to train with it. All right, I train with it literally at least once a week. At least once a week. All right, now you're not done there. Just going to the range and doing pew pew, that's not it. You need to also understand that is a deadly weapon. You have to have a license for it. And it comes down to, if they're up in your face, bad-mouthing you, calling you a punk, wanting to, just trying to go hands-on with you, or they're talking bad about your wife, they're coming out of the bar, whatever, just because they're making rude comments, that does not give you the right to even go hit the guy. Because if you get into a fist fight with them, you have a firearm on you. So you need to understand that if you can't do that, if you want to be a brawler, all right, now I'm not talking self-defense or defense of your family. That's different. But if you're like, man, we're fighting tonight. See, we're fighting tonight, man. We're fighting tonight. You leave the firearm at home. Leave the firearm at home because you're not fit to be a concealed carry holder.
Otherwise, you may have just justified the other dude to use lethal force on you. If you start messing him up and he realizes you have a firearm on you and he can articulate he felt in fear of his life, like deadly. You just. It
is a firearm-related incident if you bring a firearm to a fist fight. It is. You're going to court, brother. Going to court.
There's another piece to that, which is that's kind of the ethical part, right? That's me in control of my emotion and not having something to prove to the world because I'm a big boy and I have a gun. The professional aspect, the technical aspect to it, I've been carrying a gun for a living for 20 and a bit years. And every morning still I carry a gun. But every morning when I put my gun on me, my thought is, man, I hope I'm trained well enough to carry this. Man, I hope I can make the right decisions. And I'm speaking right now more on the technical end, right? You get into a situation where you have to draw a gun out in the open and there's people, right? Putting it in my environment where I have drawn guns quite a bit. Bus station, right? City market, that kind of thing. There's a lot of people just drawing a gun and plugging that guy who's doing the bad thing, right? You could be hitting grandma behind him, right? Maybe I should take a knee and be shooting at an up position, right? Are you ready to take that longer shot? Are you justified in taking that longer shot? There's so many things that go into it. And when you wake up in the morning and put that gun on you, if your question is not, man, I hope I trained enough, man, I need to go keep training, please don't carry a gun.
I was thinking about this on the drive here because I was only listening to something came up. And I was like, is that a true statement? I had a statement go through my head and I was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of true some of the time. You know, it's 100% right 60% of the time. But it was basically, in general, a rule of thumb in my head is the gun is more likely to get you into trouble than to get you out of trouble. It can get you out of trouble if used right, but in our society and the way that people perceive having their carry license and having a gun on them, it's more likely to get you into trouble than out of trouble for everyday citizens that carry out there. So just keep that in mind and realize, like Carl's saying, there's a huge responsibility that comes with that. It can get you into trouble. How trained are you? Subjective fear is a real thing. Everybody will be scared, but will I make the right decisions when I'm scared? Subjective fear does not count. I can literally be scared for my life and pull my gun and shoot somebody and still be wrong. Not lying, be genuinely scared and still be wrong, because just because I felt fear doesn't mean it was reasonable in that moment. So subjective fear is a real thing. And back to our training thing, hands-on stuff, the more you get on this and expose yourself to your vulnerabilities and build composure in a stressful environment related to violence, I think, don't have data, but I think that fear will be less subjective for you in those moments. You'll make better decisions.
Well, and even if we don't have that data, I think we can unequivocally say that no matter what conflicts or confrontations or whatever you get into your daily lives, the vast majority should not involve a firearm. You know, even if you're a police officer, I know cops that have been on the job for 15 years that have never had to draw their gun. You know,
criminals all the time.
all the time. So the idea that, well, I got my CCW, I'm good to go.
And we see it all the time. Who's heard of the stories of the woman, somebody shoplifts and they come out shooting at them as they're running away with the shit that they stole from Target or whatever? Like, what in the world?
Insurance, what are you doing? There's a 12-year-old girl in the backstop. Like, yeah, I think it. I mean, and it sucks because it makes it just like bad cops make it hard for good cops. Bad gun owners make it hard for good gun owners.
Tennessee, just recently, because this is near my home and it was actually in my town, right? We had a lot of car break-ins. Probably happens everywhere, right? So it was a rash of them in certain neighborhoods, and we keep up with that. So people come up to the car. Well, soldier got in trouble. He came out on his porch. Somebody was breaking in his car. Just popped him. Boom. Guy died in the street. Guess who's in jail? That soldier had the ability to shoot. He had a gun lawfully, right? He was on his property. He hit what he was intending to hit. All that went well. But what reason did he need to shoot him? Yeah, I agree. If you come in my yard, you are taking your health into your own hands at that point. You made a bad decision, but why do I need to kill you? Was I in danger? Was that guy at my car taking my baby out of the car and beating the baby up or something? So it hit home with me, and that's a soldier, right? Yeah. Like, and to me, that's an obvious choice because he wasn't necessarily under duress because he had such a gap of space between him and the potential threat in that situation. So to me, that's a lot of time to think. Yeah. So I could come out and he would have been wrong potentially if he would have brandished a gun and ran up on him. It just depends on how the law looks at it. But maybe I come out because I'm ready, but I don't play my hand. And maybe that plays to what we talked about earlier, where I reholster at that point because I have the time and space between them and I where I can safely do that, right? But I go through in my head, and of course I don't know the situation. I wasn't involved in it, and I don't know what was on his mind. I don't know what the person breaking into the car was doing or thinking. But from my standpoint and from a jury standpoint, they're not going to see that as being lawful, right? So think about those things and think about what was going through his head, and maybe he just was under that illusion that many people that we're talking about now. I've got a gun. If you do something to me or to mine, I pull my gun out and shoot you, and you pay for it because what's that saying that I really don't like to say? It says a lot, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Like, yeah, that is true, but that don't mean that saying like you did something stupid, so now I got to give you the stupid prize.
Going into that game.
No, that's stupid.
Yeah. Our freedom on the front end to own a gun and have the ability to use it is weighted heavily by the justice system and how they view what you did. So just because you doesn't mean you should now.
You are actively being a liability and helping to fight against us having our Second Amendment right to being able to carry a gun if you are carrying a gun irresponsibly and not doing all the things you need to do and asking yourself, am I ready for those moments where I might have to make that decision? You are giving them ammunition against us.
And if you just did an 8-hour CCW course, you're probably not ready.
You're not fucking ready.
If that's all you've ever done in your life,
With 100% certainty, you are not ready.
yes.
You don't even have the technical, mechanical, fundamental portion of it, making the gun work if you only have that course.
He doesn't give a lot of solid statements, so
It
there you
depends,
go.
though.
That's
It
a
depends.
gift.
Yeah. If you stand in a garage, it don't make you a car. I mean, you could hand me a guitar, and all I could do with it is hit you in the head with it. You know, I wouldn't be able to do anything of
like that
value
one
with
better.
it.
I like that one better. That one was spot on. I got that one. All right.
I think that's 100 questions we just answered.
Unfortunately, too many people rely on that firearm. They rely on the firearm saying, "Well, I'm good," and that's couldn't be further from the truth. Don't use having a firearm a excuse to not needing skills. Get out there and train, guys. All right, we got one more here. Recommended self-defense weapon retention training for someone over 50. Wait a minute, this is starting to resemble me. With shoulder, rotator cuff, and knee, sprained ACL, MCL injuries. That's not my
See all
handwriting.
above.
Yeah, no, it's
It's
definitely
not-
not yours.
Should I just
Right-handed.
give up on punches? No. Kicks? No. And focus more up on close knife or gun skills? Thanks.
May I start this off a second?
Yeah.
Go to
I don't-
Tactical Rifleman on YouTube. Scroll back, because we've already talked about this. Scroll back to the video that Z and I did on weapons retention, and it's got some very easy tricks, very easy. When I was doing research on you guys before we met up, I caught one of your videos on a different technique, which we also use, which is fantastic. Using your shoulders, using leverage. Z and I were showing using arms, using legs. Take your pick. It's really not that complicated. What I will say is once, and we've also said this already, once someone has their hand on your gun, it's anybody's fight, right? It's anybody's gun. And thank you for the question because I think a lot of people carrying guns don't really think about that, and they certainly don't take the time to get off the couch and go train weapons retention in a dojo like this or in a safe environment with instructors that know what they're doing.
Yeah, doesn't matter how bad your joints are. Take your Celebrex, take your Tylenol, 1,000 milligrams every 6 hours, and suck it up. Maintain mobility. Get out there, do what you can. We've got guys on our team with fused ankles, and they still do all the mobility drills. We've got guys with literally most of my joints. They told me when I was 35 that I had the knees of a 70-year-old. Yeah, guys, that was damn near 20 years ago. You can do it. You've got to train. Just understand you're not going to do Ryan's high kicks to the head anymore. You're not. Understand you've got to keep it down. Work within your limitations, but you have to know where your physical limitations are, and then work on. Okay, I can only do so much of this, right? But work on what you can.
Manage the variables, and I like that old country song, and I take that to mine as I get older. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was, and that's all you need sometimes when it comes to these life-threatening situations. Was that Toby Keith? That's a good saying, man.
I'm
I
not
give
a
it to you
country
one
guy,
time good.
but I like it.
Okay.
You have to know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right, hey, here's
Context
the
matters.
cool part is I've got one more question.
Awesome.
It is situational awareness seems to always be top of mind for action guys and former action guys.
Thanks.
Talking about me, actually. For those of us who have never lived day to day in that mindset, okay, I see where he's going here. What advice can you give to better our situational awareness skill set? What tools, drills can we practice to compensate for those times when we are caught off guard because of situational awareness has lapsed?
Inform yourself.
Hey guys, you got to practice staying in the yellow. You do. Wow, I could do an entire video just about situational awareness, the different Cooper levels of awareness and everything.
Well, I think some of what he's saying is like, if you're not already doing it, then I like to hear that saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, necessity is the mother of a lot of things. If I feel like I've experienced certain things where I've been caught off guard, yes, a military person or law enforcement people that have been in some chaotic situations, we're going to be a little more alert to things because it's traumatic and you remember that stuff. So if you don't feel the necessity to be situationally aware, then I really can't make you feel that need. You have to go experience something or inform yourself on certain things so that you feel more informed and feel like, hey, oh, I didn't know that this many carjackings happened in my area here. So maybe that's proof to you that says, hey, maybe I need to pay attention. Or maybe you're just going to not pay attention long enough and somebody's going to take advantage of it, and hopefully it's not catastrophic or life-ending for you. And then you'll know from that time on, right? And that's what it takes sometimes. So we can't make you see that as a need if you don't already feel that is necessary.
I don't often recommend watching the news, but knowing what's going on in your area and having an idea is important. If there's somebody going around robbing people and the people give him their money and then he shoots them and I get held at gunpoint, I'm not just going to give it to them, right? If I know that there are things going on, right? And that's an extreme example, but you need to understand, if you can't just conjure it on your own and understand that it's weird that this van is sitting here and you don't pick up on things, then a level that you can control is, okay, let me check the news. What's going on in my neighborhood? What's happening in my area? And so now I have an idea of things to look for. Because again, if you don't know, you don't know. You're not just magically one day going to realize, oh, that's weird, or oh, that's off, or oh, that doesn't make sense, or that wasn't the right move. Unless you're put yourself in that situation, be around people like at this level that are going to be able to kind of spell it out for you and help you start connecting the dots. Or if you're trying to connect the dots yourself, there's ways to do that based on what's happening in your area and your neighborhood.
Well, I'd like to add, look, yes, agreed. In addition, it can be even simpler, right? Just be aware, right? So it's break your habits of walking like this, look around you. I mean, that's where it starts. You're not neurotic if you're living your life outside, looking around at your environment.
You want me to tell them the 2 secret things that SF guys do for situational awareness? Should I do it for the video?
I mean, it's a big secret.
All right,
Nobody's ever heard of it
guys,
before.
You've sat through all these other videos. 2 secret things you'll never see us doing. Never, ever, never see us doing. You will never see a special ops guy jogging with earbuds in. You won't. I like to listen to music. If I'm gonna listen with earbuds, I'm on a treadmill in a secure area, right? What that does is when you're running down the sidewalks, through the park, wherever, it's taking away one of your senses. You're relying then strictly on visual, which you're cut off. Even detectives that have worked on it, their peripheral vision is only a little more than 180 degrees, but for most of us, it's slightly less than 180. You need your hearing. You need your hearing. That's number one. No earbuds.
Can we cut a second and explain that scientifically a little bit? There are auditory, when you're under conditions of physiological stress, right? When your body's going into that freeze or take action mode, or fight or flight, or whatever you want to call it. 2 of the effects, there are a bunch, right? 2 of the big effects are tunnel vision and auditory exclusion, right? So Carl's lion, when it's chasing a gazelle, that gazelle, its ears are gonna be pointed at that lion, right? And its vision's gonna be kind of keeping there as it's trying to find its route, right? When you're taking away your auditory awareness of your surroundings, it's actually jumping your brain also into that tunnel vision. And you have to work even harder to break just that tunnel vision.
Maintain good situational awareness. Number 2, the other thing that you will never, ever, ever see any of us doing is walking through the mall, texting away. Now that everybody laughs. Everybody knows that one. You all know that one. You all know that one. No, you don't. You do not. You so do not. Let me show you. This thing right here, this little handheld computer is the bane of society. The full-blown bane of society. After the video, you go Google cell phone fail. And on YouTube, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of awesome videos of monkeys, Americans, walking around there's one of a lady falling into a 60-foot wide fountain in the middle of the mall. How do you not see a 60-foot wide fountain? How? Because you have gotten so sucked into your little personal computer that you could be standing there mid-sentence with somebody and you get the bing, that text just came in. Immediately, pow! It's you. I wish I could draw a pistol as fast as my son and daughter can get that phone up. Ka-tow! Whoa, whoop, check that, 0.01 seconds.
New TikTok.
Ka-tow! It sounds funny, right? It sounds funny, but they
Pavlov's
get no.
dog, like
No, I don't know. I asked Z this earlier. I don't know. Maybe some of y'all have, but I have never ever gotten a text that said, "Carl, comma, it's the president, comma, do we cut the green or the blue wire to save the planet? Question mark." I've never gotten that text. And it sounds funny, I'm making a joke, right? But my point is, what possible text or phone call or email could you get that is that important when you're doing something, traveling, walking somewhere, jogging somewhere? Nothing. There's not. It will all wait. Your wife could have gotten into a car wreck. You're 100 miles away. You can't help her. You can't help her. Your daughter, heaven forbid, could get raped. A text, there's nothing you can do to help her. There's nothing. Stay focused, because if you get in a car wreck, if you get raped, if you get mugged, if you get killed, now you've just hurt your family. That's tip number 2. Keep your head out of your cell phone. Put it away. All right, we're gonna wrap up the video right there. If I could, I would just break that thing. I would. I really just. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up the video. I've released pressure here. I feel better, man. Do I feel better?
He feels good.
Do I feel good to you? I think I feel pretty good. All right, I want to thank Ryan and Amber from Fit to Fight Republic for coming here on episode 36, season 2.
Thousand?
Season 3. Season 3 already.
We're on some 3.
Anyways, it's a great series. I appreciate you all coming out. And we've got one more of these in this series, and then we're done. It's going to be awesome.
Do we?
I saved the best questions for last. We'll see y'all next time. Y'all take care and shoot straight. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so you don't miss out on anything.